The government will implement a controversial shift in strategy with the federal budget this year. Apart from the usual targets of employment and inflation, it's expected to measure well-being, something it will adapt from New Zealand. Our business editor Ross Greenwood is here to explain. Ross, talk us through it.
OK, so the Treasurer today, Jim Chalmers, is making a major speech at an Australia-New Zealand leadership forum, and he'll basically say he's going to adopt in the budget some of the measures that New Zealand has already implemented. So rather than, as I say, measuring inflation, measuring economic growth, measuring these things, it will also measure Australians' well-being. Now, the interesting part about this is what it measures, because it could include things like Australia's adaptation to climate change. It could certainly look at child poverty. It could look at a move to technology into the future. And even things such as social welfare will become a part of this. So it's going to be an interesting adaptation. It looks as though it will be a separate paper. But the important part about this is that, you still need to measure all of those economic things, but it is a change, a very significant change, away from the old jobs and growth mantra of the previous government.
But all those things historically cost money, as you know, Ross, with inflation breaking out. Isn't the government under pressure to rein in spending?
It absolutely is right now, and we can see that because inflation is rising. So the Reserve Bank already has said that while it can't do all of the heavy lifting with raising interest rates, it also comes down to government. And thus far, Jim Chalmers has really called a good game in terms of saying that spending will be, curtailed by this government. It'll find ways to get some savings out of the budget, and it needs to do that to take pressure off inflation and therefore to take pressure off future interest rate rises. So the whole point about this is it can't really add significantly to spending. So my suggestion is probably this is a way of starting to measure some of these things with perhaps the spending or indeed even significant tax reform down the track.
So does that potentially change the way the budget money is allocated in the future?
100% it does, of course, because all of a sudden, if you're measuring things and you find inequality in your community, it could well be that in the future some of those things get priority. And it could also be a situation where you get some significant tax reform. Remember what Bill Shorten took to the previous election that was rejected by people, which was about taking away some superannuation benefits, maybe away some of the benefits of negative gearing to try and skew that money elsewhere. Now, that is way too early, and it'll be interesting to see Jim Chalmers' speech today to see what he says about some of those matters.
OK, just a final one here, Ross, and changing subject here. A few weeks back, there was doubt about whether Australia's biggest home builder, Metricon, would survive. It did, but now it's been discovered it's selling $65 million worth of display homes around the country.
Yeah, there's a little good investigation by the Australian today where it's discovered that there are all of these homes from Metricon up for sale, a lot of them display homes. Now, it's normal that there would be display homes going up for sale from big home builders such as Metricon. But right now, there's just a coincidence of them, more than 50, worth around $65 million. So we've actually spotted a few of them, some of them worth more than $2 million in different parts of Queensland and New South Wales, the most expensive going for more than $3 million, some of them in regional areas for as little as $650,000. You've got to hunt, but they're out there, I've got to tell you, Pete.
OK, Ross Greenwood, bringing us up to speed as always. Thank you.